What is up, Packers fans? Welcome back to the Daily Draft, brought to you by Badger State Brewing and Brewski Light Lager out of beautiful Green Bay, Wisconsin, just minutes away from Lambeau Field. They're going to have a ton of really fun stuff going on during draft week, April 22nd to the 27th, where Jacob and Morley and I will be together for the very first time to watch the NFL draft. Jacob Morley, everyone, right now to break down the cornerbacks in this class. My position for the draft guide, by the way, buy the guide. At some point, we'll get through all the ads. But Jacob, welcome.
I love how you said we'll be together for the very first time. Like we've never met each other in person before.
We've never watched the draft together, which is a crime.
That is true. The draft is such a sacred weekend that it's tough to leave your hobbit hole to go anywhere else, you know. Well, a hobbit hole means comfort, right?
So my birthday is April 26th. So I'm always juggling that and the draft. Like our live show last year was on my 36th birthday. So like if family wants to get together or, you know, whatever, it was always a fight. And so at least now that I'm getting older, it's, you know, fewer and fewer people care about me. So it's not as difficult to plan around.
Yeah, I was born on the beginning of January, so birthdays were never really a thing for me because it was right after Christmas. So how dare you celebrate a birthday? How dare you?
Sure. Sure. Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's start with the Packers' situation or their need. Jaire Alexander potentially out the door, though not traded yet. I think they're kind of waiting on that. I think, you know, they definitely currently have the salary cap situation to just keep him. You start seeing what other corners are making, and his contract, even for a part-time player, starts to not become so insane, especially given that I think it's only $6 million in savings. The idea of keeping him around becomes more and more palatable. It's just an attitude thing, I think, or a, you know, have bridges been burned kind of thing. But not just, you know, outright releasing him, or I think they're doing a good job, at least publicly, of maintaining some trade value.
Yeah, and that's, you know, Dorf and I were talking about that the other day. He might, by the time you're watching this, he might not be on the team. We don't know. But as of right now, when we're recording this, he is technically on the team. And they either are lying or they're being honest when they talk about they're holding on to him for now. There have been like some whispers, true or not, I don't know, that they're trying to work through it and have him on the team in 2025. I think that's just jockeying to try to get a draft pick for him, saying, hey, we'll keep him. We'll come get him because we're going to keep him. We're not cutting him, you know? So yeah, I think that's all it is, but we'll see. And hopefully someone does come and get him if they do want to move him, because that would be much better. Even a 7th round pick is better than an outright release. So we'll see. I think that'll unfold and we'll have an answer before the draft on that. So in the coming weeks, I'm sure we'll get some clarity on that situation.
And I think, too, you look at this cornerback market, and I think somebody, you know, I have my questions, but I think you look at where the salary cap is going. I think somebody could talk themselves into, we can fix him, or we have a better training staff than Green Bay, or whatever. You might get somebody. I'm starting to convince myself you might get somebody to part with a 4 or a 5 just to make sure they're the ones that get him. I don't know that I'm crazy optimistic about that. And obviously, Jaire Alexander, the full-time player, would command a 1 or a 2.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have Jaire Alexander, the full-time player. That's not. It's an abstract construct at this point. It's not a real thing. They traded Eric Stokes for Nate Hobbs. Lord, I hope Green Bay wins that trade. I mean, we'll always have rookie Eric Stokes, but Hobbs is really interesting. Big, athletic guy. Played inside. They tried him at his sophomore season. They tried him at outside corner. Didn't work out maybe as well as they'd hoped. Dorf was saying on your guys' podcast. By the way, I'm not taking this Aaron Banks slander. I you know as well as I do that they will sign big guys or play big guys at guard. This is about drafting tackles.
Which I followed that up with.
Yeah, well, then I'm yelling at Dorf, not you.
I think it's more about just how Green Bay will go outside of what they typically like and prefer to do if you have proven.
Right. Like you said, I don't even know if the college and pro scouting departments talk to each other.
I don't think they do. Yeah, I don't think they do. I don't think they're allowed in the same room.
Because they wouldn't have drafted Zadarius Smith in a billion years. Not in a billion years.
Or McKinney. Or, Josh Jacobs probably athletically wasn't what they would have loved coming out of college either. But you come into the NFL and you play really well, which is right, which is correct. We don't care anymore. You're good. You're good.
Well, I think the pro department's been awesome, right? You've got your fines, right? Like Rasul Douglas. But Jimmy Graham, is that the last time they really whiffed a signing?
Yeah.
Right? Like Amos worked out awesome. So did Billy. So did both Smiths. So has McKinney. So has Jacobs. Right? Like the pro department's been really good. They've been really, really good.
Even they've signed three all pros, 3 guys. Oh, no, maybe not all pros, 2, because Sewell didn't make an all pro, but he was good. He was a very good player. Devondre Campbell was an all pro. Say what you want about Keyshawn Nixon, the corner.
I will.
He's a 2-time all pro as a kick returner, though. That's just, those are scrap heap type guys that they were able to ID and say, we think they can help the team. And then they did in a big way. So, they're really good.
So the other issue at corner, Stokes is gone. Javon Bullard underwhelmed in the slot. And then you got Keyshawn Nixon. Keyshawn, of the 96 corners that played at least 400 snaps last year, he finished 54th in coverage grade by PFF. He finished 60th in passer rating allowed, and his 9 penalties were 11th. And I don't mean that in a good way. His 9 penalties were 11th out of those 96 corners. He's not somebody that you want even close to your, quote unquote CB1 status, but that might kind of be where Green Bay is right now. And that's, I think, why we're talking about potentially cornerback as a need. I heard Justice Mosqueda say or tweet, I don't need to watch corners. Good God, I hope he's wrong. He was right last year, though, and we saw how that turned out. And the last guy to talk about really is, does the staff like Carrington Valentine as much as some of us do? That I think is a real question.
He was a 7th-round draft pick for a reason, right? And you look at Valentine coming out of Kentucky. This is a kid that played good football at Kentucky for 2 years. I think he's a 2-year starter, and then worked out pretty well. Got the size, speed, all that stuff. And for whatever reason, he didn't really see the field last year for the first half of the year. I don't remember if he was dinged up or what, but I hope this is the case. I hope the case is Valentine didn't get to play as much early because they still were just holding out hope for Eric Stokes, because Stokes got almost every rep the first, through camp, everything. I think they just really, really wanted Stokes to work out, and it didn't. So we'll see. I think this is kind of a make or break year for Carrington, not because I don't think he's good, but because I think it's going to be like, does the staff trust you as a starter? I kind of compare it to like Rasheed Walker, another 7th-round draft pick. It just seems like, hey, they play good football, but the staff just seems reluctant about them for whatever reason. So we'll see. We're not in the building. We don't see how they prepare week to week. That could be it. I don't know. I'm just throwing speculation out there. But yeah, it certainly seems like they don't like Carrington as much as we do.
I agree.
Because the tape is good. He's a good player. Like you throw him out there. I think if you just watch the tape, I think you can make the case that Carrington Valentine is their cornerback 1, just strictly from football.
Oh, if he was a 3rd-round pick, I just think we'd be talking about this way differently.
Yeah, probably.
And I mean a 3rd-round pick by them, right? Mm-hmm. Like I just think it'd be a completely different discussion point. Okay, this class overall, I think it's okay at the top. Just based on my rankings, I have 7 corners in my top 60, and then it gets ugly. I'll just say that, especially since my 8th-ranked corner ran real slow, as you pointed out to me. Not as slow as you thought. You thought we were in Ladarius Gunter territory. We weren't. But that's what I'll say about this class. My opinion, obviously, is that 7 players that I would feel pretty good about, depending on your scheme, and then, right, and that's where I'm at. What do you think of this class, just in general? I guess, and I don't know how many guys you've had a chance to watch.
I mean, like when you look at top 100 types, there are 3 guys I think if they could get their hands on in the top 100, I would be legitimately excited about, and that's kind of the obvious names. I mean, Travis Hunter's not going to be there, right? Like that would be, we'd be thrilled. We would be thrilled with Hunter. But Will Johnson is a guy that I think is really, really good. I think there's been some whispers about him potentially sliding a little bit. How much? I don't know. He's one that you would be thrilled in, and he'd be a round 1 guy. You'd be thrilled to get him in round 1. Jedi Barron, you'd be thrilled to get in round 1. And then beyond that, Benjamin Morrison is a good football player. I wouldn't be thrilled with him in round 1, but if he somehow slides to round 2, that's basically the list. Those are the 3 guys that I would be doing, fist pumps for if they got him at those spots too. If they took Morrison in round 1, I'd be like, okay, I get it, but I wish they would have waited.
What's interesting though, and I don't mean to cut you off, but there's a bunch of Packers guys in this top group that I'm talking about that you didn't even mention. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is Siobhan Ravel qualifies. Like, so last year, every corner was little. Every corner seems like he was a Big 12 or Pac-12 corner who was out there at 180 pounds, defending the spread, running real fast, but playing 7-on-7, right? There's some big boys. Ravel is big enough. Trey Amos is big enough. Azariah Thomas is big enough, right? These are guys you didn't even mention. And I think all the guys you did mention in Will Johnson, Jade, and Morrison, they also qualify from a size perspective. And I think that's what's maybe exciting if you're looking as a Packers fan, because last year I don't think that, like, we were even searching for fits in general.
There was one tier 1 fit last year. Do you know who it was? You won't.
No, I don't.
I think he's in the UFL. Willie Drew is his name, under like Virginia something.
Okay.
He hit everything. I think he was with somebody on their practice squad all year, but he's in the UFL now. They just wasn't. And there will be several this year.
Sure.
Like AZ Thomas could very well be a fit, and I like him fine. But I just, people.
He's young. He's a projection.
And people are talking round 1 for him. That's
crazy.
That's rich for me. Round 2 or 3, I'd be like, all right, let's roll. But I don't know.
Especially that they put themselves in a position in free agency where he wouldn't have to play tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes these guys come in and then they're ready. They're more ready than you thought. Trey Amos is from Ole Miss, is another guy that some people are really high on. I think he's fine. Fine. Noah Williams is another guy, but he kind of, he didn't work out like I think a lot of people expected him to. And Ravel, I'm not a huge Ravel fan. He's kind of old. He's kind of an older type guy, and I'm an ageist, I guess. I can't shake that. I can't shake the older prospects. It just kind of dings them for me for whatever reason. And honestly, there's pretty good data out there supporting the fact that if you are a younger prospect, you have a better shot to be a good pro than a guy that's 24, 25.
Well, if Ravel is old, Amos is old. But anyway, let's have a brief discussion about the tiers. I don't need you to give anything away that you're going to talk about in your own tier podcast. I don't need you to give anything away that you're going to talk about in the guide, but just kind of walk us through what Green Bay likes, why people should buy the guide, and, guys that they're just not going to take. Like, I've seen a lot of Maxwell Hairston. Ain't going to happen.
No.
And I don't think they're really looking at, like, I'll talk later about cornerback from Kansas, Mello Dotson. People, what about Kobe Bryant? Not going to happen. So kind of walk me through this.
Yeah, like, and those tiers, if they're willing to bend on them, think day 3. Like day 3, they will go outside of that stuff. Like Kalen King last year was not a high fit in Green Bay, but I think that you just get to a point where they're like, he's good. We like him.
Right. In round 7, it's
Take
off
him.
the table.
So you're looking at like these higher, top 100 types, but the size, weight, speed, ability to change directions. Those are, and that seems obvious, like duh, like that's what makes a good corner. But you would be surprised how many guys don't fit all those metrics. Like I just said, last year, one guy hit everything that they tend to like, and so you're looking for size, and not just height, but there is a density weight they want them to hit, which a lot of corners these days do not hit anymore. There is a height that they want them to hit. I think most people know it's around 5'11". Okay, because they famously kind of fudged on that for Jaire. They talked about that. They even brought it up when they drafted him. Like, hey, he's not 5'11". And Goody was just like, yeah, but we love him, So, and they were right. They were 100% right on that too. And then you're looking for a 40 time and a 3-cone time. Those are the things that they do like a lot. You could probably, this isn't in the guide, but one thing that I think has some merit is maybe broad jump as well. And I think they just love broad jump in general. Like you go look at a lot of their draft picks. They're very high percentile broad jump guys. So those are things to kind of keep an eye on if you just kind of want to have an idea for yourself of what you should be looking for when the Packers are scouting these guys, these top 100 guys.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, these 183-pound guys, and really, they liked bigger corners for a while. That's not new. But in the Hafley system, where your edge guys are spill players and they're getting up the field, and you're taking outside runs and you're kind of handing them off to your nickels, to your strong safeties, and then ultimately, like on a true sweep, you're handing off contained to your corners. You can't have a 180-pound middle school corner out there. It just is not going to go the way that you want it to go. And look, you pull Trent Williams on any corner, and it's not going to go the way that you want it to go. But it gets worse if it's a Maxwell Hairston, right? And that's why, I'm using him kind of as a specific example, obviously. So the corners in this class we're going to go through, Travis Hunter discussion doesn't matter. He's not going to be on Green Bay's team. I can't even think of a trade that they could put together to get up to where they would need to be. Like he's not going to be on Green Bay's team. I feel relatively, he'd be sweet, because you could start him at corner and give him 10 to 15 plays on offense, and I think he could really help the Green Bay Packers. But
hey, they kind of need both those things. So.
Yeah, I know. I know, but I don't see it. Here's my question. They won't all be available, right? But I think there is a case that can be made that all these other corners could be available. Is Will Johnson slow? Is Jahdae Barron a slot? Benjamin Morrison has issues. Ravel's coming off an ACL. There's no corner. If we're really, really, in my opinion, if we're really, really going to talk about Will Johnson as somebody who could fall, because that would be the one that would just break my brain. Mm-hmm. If we're really going to talk about Will Johnson as somebody who could fall, who can't fall, right? Like who are we talking about that other than Hunter that just simply will not be there?
But even Hunter, I mean, 99.9% chance, yeah, he's not going to be there. But think back to another two-way player from UCLA a decade ago, Miles Jack. The whole draft process till about a week or two before the draft, he was like a top 5 pick, like absolutely with a bullet top 5 pick. He's a generational type guy, and then all of a sudden he's there in the second round. That's not going to happen, Travis Hunter. I really don't think so. But crazy things happen. I mean, with Will Johnson, the guy that I kind of think of that maybe and hopefully it works out better for him is Josh Jackson, the corner from Iowa. Obviously, familiar with him. When you look at him, like
familiar with him, that's nice.
Big guy, playmaker. College tape was outstanding. Not the fastest guy in the world. Fell to Green Bay in round 2. Looked like he was going to be a star in Green Bay, and then he wasn't. So that's just that stuff happens. That's not to say that's going to happen to Will Johnson. If there is anyone in this class, like I think you're alluding to, that would fall to pick 23 that Green Bay could get their hands on in the cornerback position, if Will Johnson is there, I think they have to take him. They just have to take him. So I don't care if he runs a 4.55. Like I will give up him giving up 2 long touchdowns a year. That's fine.
Sure.
And you know what? And you know what, Ross? Packers safeties are really good.
Yeah.
So if you want Will Johnson to not even be responsible for the deep half of the field, there's a way you can make that happen with Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams, and if Javon Bullard's going back to safety, I don't know, but you've got 2 guys that are really good safeties. So I think they could make it work. I think Will Johnson would be just a seamless fit in Jeff Hafley's defense as well.
Yeah, I agree. And Jaire Barron, I think we have to talk about him a little bit. I think it's less of a conversation now, just because of the Hobbs thing, though. They did say they want to play Hobbs outside. Barron can play safety. He can play nickel. And then he just spent the last year as like the number 3 graded outside corner by PFF. Big enough, fast enough. We found that out. To me, I would still just figure it out. I would still take him and figure it out. I think he –
Go finish. I was just going to say, what if they just want to play like a positionless secondary?
Right.
Because you've got, Keyshawn's played inside, played outside. Nate Hobbs has played inside, played outside. Bullard has played slot. He's played safety. And
Jaire can do whatever.
Hobbs, same way. Jaire could do the same thing. You could be such a week-to-week matchup-oriented defense if you would go get a guy like Barron as well.
And McKinney just erasing everything on the back.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think he could make you really, really nasty. And especially if you're going to play Hobbs outside, then you could slide Jaire Barron inside and play Bullard at dime, or have Bullard go back into a – people I don't think are talking about how not well Evan Williams played in the second half of the season. I'm this has nothing to do with because I got dunked on for Evan Williams a lot. And I sort of defend that because my ranking of Evan Williams was not really off of consensus. That was viewed as a reach by most people. Doesn't matter. The point that I'm making is I'm not ready to just be like, okay, Evan Williams is the next Adrian Amos for the next 10 years. We're good. Okay. First half of the season, that was the tape. He was that good. Second half of the season, it wasn't that. I would not have a 4th-round pick in Evan Williams, who played poorly down the stretch, stop me from taking a Jaire Barron. That's not what I would do. And by the way, someone's getting hurt. This is the NFL, right? So if Keyshawn goes down, put him in. If X goes down, Jaire is the only person I would want to have play free safety, period. He can start for you, and he can back up basically all 5 spots. I know that it got less likely with the Hobbs signing. I'd still do it.
Yeah, I think we've seen them do that in the past too. Like when they've gone out and gotten big time free agents, really the 2 years they've done it,
they'll double down with
Preston Smith, Za'Darius, Rashawn Gary draft pick last year, bringing in Xavier McKinney as your big time free agent. And then drafting Javon Bullard high, drafting Evan Williams, drafting Katan Oladapo. Like they took 3 last year with the big free agent signing. So it would not be unprecedented at all if they went out and just kept going. And Goody talked about throwing bodies at the position. They've thrown 1. That's one. Bodies is multiple. That's one guy. So
and they're going to be on the bottom side of the ledger if they release or trade Job because Eric Stokes is gone. So they're right now they're not even in the black. They're just it's just even. You lost Eric Stokes and you gained the other guy.
What are your corners, right? You got under contract. I mean, let's assume he's not going to be here though.
Sure. Keyshawn's under contract, CV's under contract, and obviously Hobbs is under contract.
Is that it? Kalen King. So that's you're getting into that. Like, whoa, okay, that's your next guy. So yeah, they definitely need bodies, and they need bodies that can play.
Well, I can't be asked to speak on Kalen King objectively, but yes, you're correct there. So, okay, wrapping up here, late guys that we like. I've got 2. Jaire Alexander. You mentioned he ran 4.56. As weird as it sounds, like maybe my Mendoza line is 4.55, so hopefully he runs a little bit better at LSU's pro day. With what what they play and with his size. I don't like small, slow corners. That's almost never good, right? He's got some good size. 4.56 is not ideal, but you're not spending a high pick on that. You can go over a pretty decent sized list of corners that run in the 4.5s that are good. But you're chasing the outliers, right? And we talk about that as from a process standpoint, just in general. We talk about, well, don't try to find a 4.5 corner that's good. Try to find a corner that runs in the low 4.4s, like most of the rest of the good corners. Most good corners are fast. Sorry, it's a speed position, right? So Jaire Alexander, then Mello Dotson, I think could really eventually turn out as like a decent outside corner if your team's going to play zone, and that's another interesting thing, right? Hafley was super heavy into zone coverage. But could that have just been Jaire's not playing, and now my number one corner is Keyshawn Nixon, and he isn't particularly good. So we're going to play a ton of thirds, and we're going to play a ton of quarters, and we're going to play some man because we're going to blitz our butts off because turns out our only good pass rusher is a rookie off the ball linebacker, right? So like, I wonder if that wasn't more of a good coach having his players do what he needs them to do, and maybe he does go into this draft looking for a Siobhan Ravel, looking for a Azarea Thomas, and going, okay, actually we are going to press. All that stuff you saw me do at Boston College. I went and got 6'1" Nate Hobbs. Now I drafted this, thick, long corner in Siobhan Ravel. We're actually gonna press people.
Yeah, and you saw it last year with Hafley. Like he will adapt to what his personnel is.
Yeah.
So two guys that I like a lot. I'm going to give you one that is a high fit for Green Bay, and I'm going to give you one that is just a dog, like a guy I really like. Upton Stout from Western Kentucky. I don't think he's going to be a Packer. He's short.
He's little.
He's a little guy, but man, he is like when you his style of play reminds me of Courtney Gardner-Johnson, who just got traded by Philadelphia to someone because
for Kenyon Green.
I think he's the same type of like attitude type player where he's hard to be around. Like you watch his tape, he is first team all yapper. Like he does not stop talking the whole game. He lets you know that he is there every single play. He is the quintessential corner, slot, safety. He can play all three, but he is the quintessential corner that will get in your face doing the incomplete sign when the ball was thrown 10 feet over your head. Like, all me. That was me. And it's like, no, dude, that was whatever. But, like, he is not going to let up the entire game. I would love it. And Jaire was kind of that way too, which is awesome. But I love those style of players, the guys that are just going to be pesky, going to be annoying the whole game, going to make Justin Jefferson hit unofficial with his helmet. So those guys I love, and I would love to add him to this corner room just because for that reason alone, just for sheer enjoyability of watching. Well, he'd be fun. And then the next guy, this guy is going to be a high fit for Green Bay, a day 3 type. His name is Bilal Cohn from Western Michigan. He is a big athletic corner. Tape is fine. That's why he's going to be a day 3 pick. It's not great. He's a pro, so it's good. But he's a guy that I think you'd like this coaching staff to get their hands on and say, hey, look, you like this, right? These are the things you like. Make it work. And so that I could very much see him be a day 3 type fit for Green Bay, or someone that you shouldn't be surprised if you hear his name called on day 3, or even he might even be a UDFA type guy that they target and do the Donovan Jennings. Is that right? That the big time contract for the UDFA. So that's a guy I like a lot as well.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Like you said, throwing bodies, and maybe bodies. And this brings us to the next question. Is where do the bodies come? Right. That's kind of the big question. So I think we might have skipped this during the first one that we did, but I do remember now that this is how we did this specifically because, the last couple of years they've had these extra picks. Like last year, obviously 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. Shout out Tyron Hopper. Anyway, do they take a corner in the first 4 rounds? So you and I'll end all these shows like this moving forward. Do they take this position in the first 4 rounds, pending a Jaire Alexander trade, pending a Rasheed Walker trade? We'll see. But as of right now, they've got 4 picks in the first 4 rounds. So, Jacob Morley, do they take a corner in the first 4 rounds?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, you listen to Goody talk, he basically will tell you what they're going to do in the offseason. He said they're going to throw bodies at the position. I think that means they're going to sign a guy and draft a guy. They already signed one.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they certainly shouldn't think they have a long-term answer with Keyshawn. I don't think they have a long-term answer with CV, and Stokes and Ja are probably gone. So this is a long-term issue as much as it is a short-term issue. And I think they want to try to fix long-term issues via the draft in any way that they can.
Yep.
Well, buddy, thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Folks, drink brewski, buy the guide, and go Pack Go.